Hi, everybody. Today we are going to learn about animal behavior. So we're going to go over some aspects of animal behavior. So make sure you continue answering the questions that are in your notes and filling in the blanks. So a little bit about behavior. Behavior is everything an animal does and how it does it. So it can oftentimes be a response to stimuli in its environment. Behaviors can be innate. So innate means that the behaviors are inherited and they're instinctive. So it's like an instinct. Innate behaviors are automatic. They happen without the individual animal, thinking or making some kind of decision. They are consistent. Like there we see an example of kittens feeding. That is not something they have to learn how to do. It's instinctive. They just do. Learned behaviors, the ability to learn is inherited, but the actual learned behavior develops over the animal's lifetime. So the animal has to learn it from somewhere during its life. So here we see an example we're going to look at later that's using a tool. This chimpanzee is using a tool to get termites out of this dirt mound. And so that is something that it would have had to have learned from perhaps its parents. All right. Learned behaviors are variable and flexible, and that's clearly because it's not innate, right? It's learned during its lifetime. The behaviors change with experience and environment. So why are we studying behavior? And the reason why is because behavior is part of an animal's phenotype. Behavior can be selected for or against by natural selection. So here we see behaviors, cooperative hunting. We see imprinting when baby goslings are going to follow their parents. Learning how to use tools. All of these things are selected for natural selection. Here we have ants that are actually forming a bridge for other ants to come across. So it's clearly been selected for natural selection. Therefore, it needs to lead to a greater fitness and greater survival, and ultimately greater reproductive success. So there are two types of questions that we can ask with animal behavior. There are proximate questions. Proximate questions are questions that deal with proximate causes. And proximate causes are like the immediate stimulus and mechanism for. So for a male songbird, we might think for a proximate cause, what triggers the singing? See how that deals with what the bird is doing right now. How does the bird sing? That deals with what the bird is doing right now. Proximate causes are how and what questions. Ultimate causes are a little bit broader. They address the evolutionary significance of what's happening. How does the behavior contribute to the survival and reproduction? What's the adaptive value? We've got why questions. So why is the songbird singing? That is a deeper question. It's going to require the individual studying it to step back and to look at the bigger picture of what's happening here. So what's triggering the singing? How is the bird singing? That is dealing with now. Why does he sing deals with how does singing add to the population's reproductive success? So courtship behaviors in cranes. What sort of proximate questions and ultimate questions can you come up with this courtship behavior in cranes? So for cranes, you might come up with what triggers the courtship behavior, or how do the birds know what to do? Then you could ask a more ultimate question like, why do these cranes exhibit this courtship behavior? What is the reason? What's the evolutionary significance behind it? All right. Okay, so innate behaviors are automatics. They are fixed and they are built in. There's not a learning curve present with innate behaviors. Innate behaviors are going to happen despite different environments. The same behavior is going to persist. Innate behaviors, and this is important, are going to result in early survival or reproduction. These are things that cannot change regardless of the environment. Like feeding as soon as you are young, that has to be innate because you got to do it right away. Reproducing, it needs to happen, right? That's going to be pushed by natural selection. So reproductive behaviors are innate, they don't need to be learned. Learned behaviors need to be modified by experience, and therefore they're variable and changeable with the environment. So they are flexible with a complex and changing environment. Some examples, we have innate behaviors or reflexes, fixed action patterns, which we're going to talk about, kinesis and taxis, which are how insects can move, migration, biorhythms, and communication. Learned behaviors are things like classical conditioning, operant conditioning, habituation, insight behavior and problem solving, imprinting, spatial learning, and social learning. So here are a few of the scientists that are pioneers of the study of animal behavior. Carl von Frisch actually studied the behavior of bees. Bees do a waggle dance to communicate with one another. I was met with a lot of skepticism because the idea that bees were dancing to communicate seemed very funny. But it ended up being true. And so we are going to learn about some of these scientists' contributions to animal behavior. So let's first talk about fixed action patterns. This is innate behavior. And it's a sequence of behaviors that are unchangeable. And once they start, they go until completion. They do not stop in the middle. Fixed action patterns can be from a sign, a stimulus. So there could be a particular stimulus in the environment that triggers a fixed action pattern. One example is with an animal we've already studied, a stickleback, and male sticklebacks are going to have a red belly. Female sticklebacks have a swollen silvery belly. So when other males see another stickleback, if the belly is red, they attack. If the belly is silver, they do not attack. Now, you also might think maybe it's the shape of the belly. We're going to watch a video of this and we will find out that they figured out it's not the shape of the belly, it's the color red on the belly side. Even if you use something that is clearly not a fish and you show a stickleback this sort of oblong shape with a red belly, the stickleback is going to attack. It always attacks when the underside of something is red. It's that color. So these things are clearly not fish. They don't really necessarily look like fish, but a male stickleback will still attack the ones that have a red underside. It's a fixed action pattern. They react to the red color, not the shape, not anything else. It has to be the red color. So here we see approximate cause and an ultimate cause. The red belly of the intruding male acts as a sign stimulus that releases aggression. That's the proximate cause, seeing the red. The ultimate cause, by chasing away other males, the male decreases the chance that the eggs laid in his nesting territory will be fertilized by another male. So that's how it leads to reproductive success. Okay, so here is a video. This video is not, is it going to work? So here we see all these different things with a red belly. All right, here's our male stickleback. Looks like non-aggressive behavior. Okay, let's see what happens next. There's stickleback over here. Now, red belly, the male stickleback is very aggressive. Seeing the red, trying to chase it away. Now, what if we use a different shape? Same thing, exhibiting aggressive behavior. All right, so that is a fixed action pattern. All right, other fixed action patterns. We're going to watch this video in class on the digger wasp. It has a clear fixed action pattern with how it brings in prey into its hole. We also have an interesting example, egg rolling in geese. So if geese see something circular and white by their nest, what they do is they use their beak to roll it back into their nest because what they think is that the egg has gotten out. If you replace the egg with something like a baseball, the goose still brings it back. It doesn't realize the difference, right? And in fact, if you notice what's happening in this video, the scientist is removing the egg, but the goose continues to make the motion in it. That just like we learned, the action continues until completion, even though the egg is missing, because the scientist took the egg away. Right? In humans, there may be a fixed action pattern, the eyebrow flash. When humans see a baby, they tend to raise their eyebrows, um, possibly as a sign of friendliness to the baby. All right. Okay, another innate behavior, super normal stimulus, responding more or in a bigger way to a larger stimulus. And an adaptation here is with gulls. So gulls will often regurgitate food to their young. So there you see this gull, a little bit of regurgitated food hanging out of this gull's beak. The chicks are going to see this and they're going to start pecking at it because they want the food, right? Now, if we do something similar, so if we use a real gull's head, there will be a particular amount of pecking by the offspring. All right, if we use the model of a gull's head with a red thing here, again, still pecking, right? If we just use the bill, so this is clearly not a bird, right? It's just the bill, it's a plastic model of a bill, still the chicks will peck. And if you use a big red stick, the chicks will peck even more because the stimulus has gotten bigger. Now there's more red, so the chicks peck more than they would have because it is a super normal stimulus. All right. So to our connection between innate and learned is imprinting. This is basically when young animals, like these young ducklings or goslings here, will start to follow the very first thing they see, which is usually going to be their mother, but in some cases could actually be a human or a dog, as we'll look at in some videos. So imprinting is learning to form social attachments at a specific critical period. It can only happen early on, and it's necessary that it happens because this imprinting is going to allow the birds to survive early on. So it's a little bit of innate, but it's also a little bit of learned. So both innate and learned um, so the proximate cause, during an early critical development stage, the young geese observe their mother moving away from them and calling. And then the ultimate cause, on average, geese that follow and imprint on their mother receive more care. So that's the proximate and ultimate cause of imprinting. All right. We can take advantage of imprinting. Conservation biologists can by helping young cranes learn how to migrate. So we can use this to help these birds who might have died or might have been orphaned and helping them to survive by teaching them what to do. All right. And there's learned behaviors. We're going to get into this next time. So we're going to stop here for now and we'll get into learned behaviors tomorrow.